This is the talkSPORT Daily Podcast, your home of the Six Nations. I'm your host, Alfie Reynolds.
And I'm former London Irish and England wing, Topsy Ojo.
So, coming up on today's episode, we're going to look back on all the action on the opening round of the men's Six Nations, and we will also throw it ahead to round two. So whether you're on the commute, you're down the pub, you're on the sofa, we have you covered. The first weekend is done. Let's get into it. Right, we'll bring you all the fallout in just a moment. But first of all, the results from the opening weekend. Italy 18, Scotland 15, England 48, Wales 7 and France 36, Ireland 14. Topsy, opening weekend of the Six Nations 2026. What do you make of it?
I mean, I've just about recovered. I think you look forward to it so much, don't you? And then when it arrives, you hope it continues to deliver, as it does most years. And yeah, it did. You know, we got off to a flyer on Thursday night, France looking pretty imperious. And then the chaos was Saturday, from the amazing victory by Italy over in Rome to the scenes at the Allianz with England rolling on again and Wales still struggling to find themselves. So, brilliant opening weekend. It threw so many storylines as well that we'll get into, and that's what you want. You know, you want the Six Nations to maximise this window, give everybody watching at home or listening things to talk about, and it certainly did that.
The only thing I would say back to that is thank goodness for Italy-Scotland, because France-Ireland, you're right, loads of storylines to come out of it, but pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
England-Wales, one-sided as perhaps we expected. So thank goodness that actually Italy-Scotland, we got, a mad game, but we got a result that was in the balance that went down to the wire. I think it needed that.
Yeah, I think so. Like you say, if you looked at the odds, that was the one game that probably was an upset in terms of the bookies. You know, Italy have progressed year after year, but to get over the line, it became a huge talking point for what happened on the pitch as well as off the pitch as well, which of course we're going to get into.
And we've got to say, Thursday night rugby to kick things off for the first time since the 1940s, so I don't know if we should get used to it. Did it work? What do you make of it?
I think it worked. I think, again, rugby is a sport that needs to keep looking at how it can do things differently. You get a night to yourself. It's the opening game of the Six Nations, so why not? Try not to clash with all the other sports that are fighting for competition. You know the Winter Olympics is about to start on the Friday, so you know what? Take Thursday, and actually, for a team that does rugby the best under the lights, take it to France. You know they're going to put on a show. Yeah,
I think particularly the context of the Winter Olympics starting means it makes a lot of sense for this year. And I'm going to be the voice of doom and gloom again here early on in Topsy. I'm going to get more positive. Don't you worry. Well, it's more. Look, I wasn't there. I spoke to someone that was there, and they said it didn't feel like a Six Nations game because when they were on the metro on the way to the game, they were with a load of commuters. You didn't have the travelling support, which is such a huge thing in the Six Nations because you had to take 2 days off work. So it kind of lost a bit of an element of that usual Six Nations games would have. And as we've said, there's a reason it was on a Thursday. I love Friday games. I think if we had regular Friday games and less games on Sunday, I'd be up for that. But whether Thursday, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't see it being a long-term thing.
I agree.
I think, it was needs must for this year. Friday, certainly. If you pick the right game, the right venue, the right teams, you will get fireworks and it will work really well. And like you say, in some instances, you might prefer that to a Thursday, to a Sunday. Sorry, I think long as the games have the best window to maximise the audiences, you'll get everything you want.
Yeah, agreed. Look, there's only one place to start if we're looking at the action on the pitch. As we've said already, Italy 18, Scotland 15. A shock defeat for Scotland, but not a huge shock at the same time, Topsy. I want to get straight into it here because the natural headline reaction to this defeat is Gregor Townsend and Gregor Townsend's position.
How are you feeling on a personal level? Do you still have the appetite to stay on and try and sort it out?
Absolutely. I think we've got a game in 7 days' time. We've got a game to review, a selection to be put together, and how we improve today is all we're thinking about as a coaching group. And it's very tough when you lose, but when you've got a game around the corner, that your focus has to be on that. How do we make sure we put in a training session, a team that goes out there and gives our supporters a victory? That's all we're motivated by. We didn't get it today, but the focus will be quickly on England.
Just to clarify, you would fully expect to still be in charge next week?
Well, I want to be, and that's my job. So, that's what I'm focused on.
Do you think he's still going to be the head coach at the end of the Six Nations, or shortly after the end of the Six Nations?
Oh man, start with a light question. I think he will, but it will depend on how the rest of this Six Nations go. I mean, he has a contract through to the World Cup, and you tend to see that out unless something dramatic changes, which would be a catastrophic Six Nations for Scotland. Now, Scotland could go on and win the rest of their remaining games and all will be well. They could beat England this weekend and all will be better, at least in the short-term period. But that loss has really put a huge spotlight on Scotland, if there wasn't already one. I think we talked about it last week. The narrative around their squad and the potential and what they should be achieving versus what they have been achieved is huge. You then throw in the reports about him taking this new job with Newcastle.
We have to get into
He's a
this.
Red Bull consultant, so that kind of overshadowed the build-up. Him saying, I think his response was, it was England trying to disrupt English reporters, trying to disrupt him, or you come in if you've got the line.
No, I think this is ridiculous, Tops.
Yeah.
I really like Gregor Townsend. I think he's a really good coach. There are issues with Scotland at the moment, but his reaction to a story in the Telegraph that he's going to become the Newcastle Red Bulls director of rugby after his contract ends, after the World Cup in 2027, saying it was a plot by an English newspaper ahead of the Calcutta Cup, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's a ridiculous response from Townsend.
Yeah, it's bold. I mean, I'd almost like to think he probably regretted saying that as soon as he did, but it's almost... Let's play devil's advocate. Let's say he has agreed it. You'd like to think that news doesn't break until you want it to break. So all of a sudden he's caught off guard and now he's trying to firefight. But either way, that response just sets the ball rolling. So you've then got that to deal with going into the fixture, a fixture that's going to be difficult anyway. You've then got the narrative about Scotland, always promise to deliver and never do. And then they go and lose. So that's only going to snowball. It's only going to get more intense, more questions, more soul searching. And then you bring England into the equation this weekend at Murrayfield. Now, if Scotland win, as I said, all might be well for another week. But if they lose, I mean, you're going to be asking Gregor some questions. I'm going to be asking Gregor some questions. And it could get pretty intense.
And I think you're seeing now, I think we are crossing a point now where fans are really calling for change. And... look, we could put the Red Bull stuff to the side for a second. I think it has all been quite messy. As soon as he took up that 30-day a year role while still being the Scotland coach, and accusations of conflicts of interest and all that. So even put all that to a side, even though I don't think that's been dealt with well and has caused issues here. The question is, are Scotland performing well enough? And the answer is no.
No.
And then the question is, have they stagnated since the last World Cup? And again, I think the argument is no. And I think ultimately when you look at Townsend now, and I go back to what I said before, like, I'm being harsh on Townsend here. I like him. I like him as a coach. I think he conducts himself well. I think he's done some brilliant things with this Scotland team. But you're looking at it now, and I think it's fair to suggest that actually a change might be needed.
And I think that's almost the point where everybody has got to. I think we can all conclusively say that we really like Gregor. Great guy, great player, and a very, very good coach. But in his tenure with Scotland, has he been able to achieve the things that he would want to? He would say probably not. So... does it come to a natural point whereby you can't change all the players? Scotland have the very best players available to them. There's not many injuries in camp, so it's not like they're missing a couple of key figures. Everybody is there and available by and large. Then you look elsewhere. Is it the pathways? Is it the coaching? Is it the setup? And the one thing you can change, unfortunately, is the coach. So that's where we've got to, and that's the question that needs to be answered across the Six Nations.
And I don't think they're going to make a change immediately. I think they obviously have that succession plan with Franco Smith at Glasgow. So the question really, I think, becomes, does Franco Smith come in after this year's URC and domestic competitions finish? Do they get there quicker than they would after the next World Cup? But we'll wait and see. The final thing I'll say on Townsend is actually, I think it's kind of sad as well. I think Gregor Townsend should be remembered as a brilliant Scotland coach that did things, certainly in the Six Nations era, that no other Scotland coach had done. And I just fear that where we are at the moment, and because he's perhaps stayed on a little bit too long, the stuff to do with joining Newcastle has just soured that relationship a bit towards the end, which I don't think he deserves, but I think is probably where we are a little bit.
Yeah, and you're right. And actually, it will become a bit of a shame, in terms of if that's the way the relationship goes and it breaks down, because you think of what he has done. I guess ultimately, when you are an international head coach, you are in the firing line. It's all about result. It's all about week-to-week performances. And as we said earlier, can he take Scotland to the next level? He might still in this Six Nations, but then if he doesn't, it's, look, what does your tenure say, and what is it going to say going forward? Is this the natural end? I think we're going to find out.
Yeah. Italian fans listening, don't worry, I've got you here. We're not forgetting you. I know, look, the headlines are about Scotland, aren't they, in many ways, Topsy? But let's talk about Italy, because they're just a really good side. Going to Rome is not easy. The conditions made the game particularly weird, I suppose, in some ways, but Italy's played those conditions better. They did really well.
Yeah, they've been great, and I can't speak highly enough of them at the minute because, and this is something that might come up in the England-Wales conversation when we get into that later on, but actually they have had to really go through it. If you think about the narrative around Italy over the years, should they even be in the Six Nations, having to fight for their position, their relevance, they had to rip up the whole system, going back to when Conor O'Shea was there and looking at the whole structure of Italian rugby and saying, right, how are we going to redevelop this so that we start producing players that can deliver on the international stage? And now they're benefiting from that. They've got a brilliant coach in Quesada who has now given that group some belief, some structure and some resolve. They've got some wonderful players now. I mean, we could talk about them all, but the guys that get the headlines are at 12 and 13. Brexon Menoncello, who had hands in both the tries. There's a grit, there's a resolve, and they've got the Italian public behind them. And they were brilliant for the opening half, and then they managed the conditions better than Scotland did. Took advantage of some bad Scotland decision making, but you have to kind of create those scenarios for yourself. And ultimately, another win. They're now learning how to win Six Nations back to back, and it'd be great to see how they can push on in this tournament. So can't speak highly enough of them, and really, really well done, because they've been through a lot of pain and now they're starting to reap the rewards.
And it eases pressure, doesn't it? When you get a win on opening week, and then all of a sudden kind of pressure's off there, they can relax and get themselves into the championship. In terms of what's next up, Italy travel to Dublin on Saturday. They face Ireland, and Scotland, of course, play England, the Calcutta Cup at Murrayfield. We'll look ahead to those later on. Now, though, let's have a chat about England. 48-7, absolute mauling of the Welsh. We spoke about it last week, Topsy. We all expected England to win. We all expected England to win comfortably, but were you still surprised by particularly that first half, what we saw from in that Welsh performance?
I really was. It's funny, speaking to some people pre-game, it was similar to the conversation we had. Some people thought it would be easy, some thought it would be more competitive. I thought Wales would come in there with a solid game plan that would keep them in the game for much longer than it did. The sad thing, again, using that word a lot, is that they just didn't give themselves a chance to get going. A couple of penalties, they were under their own post. It was 3 points, then it was 10-0, then it was 15-0. And when you're in the situation they're in, you only have to make a few mistakes and you just get punished tenfold. And that's what happened. England didn't really have to go through the gears. You throw in 2 yellow cards in the first half, 2 yellow cards in the second half, and the classic phrase, you're shooting yourself in your own foot. So it was tough. It was a long afternoon for Wales. It was easy for England. Wales have just got to go through it. They really do. I said to you off air, but there's no cavalry coming. There's no reinforcements. They have the players they have. They can change the team a bit, but ultimately this group are just going to need to keep digging in, keep pushing forwards. They've changed the coach already, so they're not going to change again. They've just got to keep digging in because we're in the Six Nations. Nobody's going to give them a breath. Nobody's going to take it easy on them. And to a point where, as Italy have done now, they finally figure out how to get back to the top table and win again. It's going to be a long road, but they can get there.
Yeah, I think Italy's a good one to mention here, isn't it? Because they don't have massive player pool and resources and setup, but actually the pathways they've put in place, they are now reaping the rewards. So that's probably the thing that if you're Welsh you look at. Let's hear from the England head coach Steve Borthwick. I spoke to him in the post-match press conference following the game.
Can I ask you about your starting second row pair today, just Ollie Chesham and Alex Coles, and how they're continuing to grow in terms of their importance for this team?
Yeah, I think that it's another area we're trying to develop some more strength and depth there, and you start also looking at the players in the squad. Chandler Cunningham South, who trained exceptionally well this week. Arthur Clarke, who I thought every time we've had the opportunity to work with him, I think it's been fantastic. He's obviously had some injuries, and we've got George Martin to come back into that mix. It's also worth noting right now is that, and I'm sure you all watched, it was the England A team performance last night. I thought they were exceptional. I thought the forwards. There was lots of really good performances. I thought that the forwards played a real strong performance last night as well.
Topsy, if you're England, you beat Wales comfortably, as expected. Wales, as you've mentioned already, had 4 players across the match sent to the sin bin. How much can England take away from that game? Is it almost a hard game to analyse because of also the performance of the Welsh and what they're up against?
It is, but actually speaking to the players afterwards as well, I think because of the position they're in now, where they're on this huge winning run and there's a confidence and a belief in the squad, actually there was almost a sense of frustration that they didn't win by more. There was kind of the 15-20 minute period just after half-time. England picked up 2 yellow cards as well, where Wales just had a moment. And the England players were a bit like, we wish we didn't allow them to have that moment. And that's where they are at the minute. It's we want to be ultra ruthless. So, yes, they'll be happy with the 7 tries and the 48 points, but they'll say, well, we let Wales score 1. We were a bit ill-disciplined. We gave away momentum. And against better teams, that could cost us. So, looking ahead to this weekend, a fixture where they haven't won away for 6 years, a place that's notoriously difficult with a backlash coming in, they will be thinking, right, the areas that we felt we weren't at our level at are where we need to be really hot, because Scotland are coming for us. And if we're going to put a marker down in terms of where we've been, England have been brilliant for their 12 wins in a row, but I think the only away wins, Wales, Italy and Argentina away. Argentina's a brilliant win, but this would probably be bigger.
Yeah.
And it's the Six Nations, so that's a challenge for them.
I'll tell you what, hold that thought, Topsy. We'll get onto the Calcutta Cup in just a moment, and also Wales hosting France. Boy, yeah, we'll be having a chat about that. Producer Dan has put a note in the script saying, I predicted England 47, Wales 17 last week. Was that my prediction, Dan? That's what I... So,
okay,
you got. Let's not focus on all the ones that I'm going to get horribly wrong over the Six Nations, but not a million. I think you were pretty close as well, Topsy, to be fair. More on England in just a moment. The other game, Thursday night rugby, as we've said already. France 36, Ireland 14. France really impressive here, weren't they, Topsy? There's a few question marks around France coming in, not because we don't know they're good, but because they hadn't picked Penaud, they hadn't picked Fickou, they hadn't picked Aldry. A lot of senior, very good operators. Fabien Gaultier didn't select in his squad, so you're wondering what's going on here with the French. They love a bit of an implosion every now and again. Is that what we're going to see? Well, not at all. They're excellent.
No, they turned it on, and actually they showed how good you can be even in the wet. Their players were fantastic. Like, even if you just look at the pack as well, they were able to move things around and still put together an 8 that was dominant, destructive. You move Olive on into the second row. Guillard was mentioned umpteen times. Jégu as well in the back row. So you're unearthing these new stars, and then you throw into the mix Dupont, who was quiet, to be fair to him, but then you've got Jalibert doing his thing, Louis Bielbiarri doing his thing as well. So actually there are just stars everywhere in that team. There are guys that can play the game a bit differently, and they really took Ireland to the cleaners for 50 minutes where it was job done.
You know who Louis Bielbiarri really reminds me of? I remember watching a Football World Cup. It must be, I don't know, 2006, 2010, like Ronaldinho in his pomp, and every time he got the ball there was just like a murmur amongst the crowd of what's he going to do. And I feel like Louis Bielbiarri is getting into that territory almost. As soon as he gets the ball in a bit of space, there is like an excitement, there's a buzz about what he's going to do. He is so young but so good, and as a former winger you must watch him and really appreciate what he's about.
It's brilliant as well, because you look at the size of him as well. I think the frame of wingers has gone through it. They've gone from being really small to really big, and now all shapes and sizes, but actually the smallest guy can be the most dangerous, and he is lethal. And for Sean Edwards afterwards to say he's actually getting better is pretty scary. I mean, his try record is phenomenal already, and he probably is scratching the surface in terms of what he can do. So wonderful to watch. And when France are in full flow and they're on the front foot, there's not many teams that can stop them. So they have kind of cemented why they're favourites for this tournament, but of course we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, France brilliant, Ireland the opposite. This is what the Ireland head coach Andy Farrell had to say, and he was asked about whether there is a growing gap between Ireland and the best teams in the world.
Well, yeah, I am, because I know the people that we've got. I know the good people that we've got, the good players that are not just here, but who are at home as well. I know that there's a determined group to make sure that we are constantly up there at the top of world rugby to be able to compete, and that will always be the case.
Topsy, I think that answer is incredibly revealing from Andy Farrell. He's the sort of coach that would often push back against that, I think, and he didn't really. You know, he kind of acknowledged that there is a growing gap between Ireland and the best teams in the world at the moment.
Yeah, it's very telling. Like you say, Andy Farrell doesn't mince his word. He's fairly honest and forthright, and for him to respond in that way, Caelan Doris said similar. You know, they prepared for the game as they would. They kind of knew what was coming, but then when it was there in front of them and it hit them, they actually didn't have an answer to it. And yes, they were missing a few players through injuries, but actually, how much difference would that have made? I mean, of course, we don't know, but I'd like to think France would have won in the same fashion. So it's, what do you do about that? What can you do about that? You know, is this a problem that actually they should have got ahead of 6 months ago, a year ago?
Well, that's the question, right? How much Andy Farrell has been excellent as Ireland head coach. He became the British and Irish Lions coach off the back of it, totally deservedly. But is it fair to criticise him here for a lack of regeneration in this team? In that you look at this team now, it is ageing. It doesn't feel like they have the immediate players coming through. I mean, is that fair?
I'd say so, and I think Andy's comments kind of refer to that. You know, you look at the gap between their most experienced and the guys coming through, and it's probably too big. And actually, you look at Wales currently as well. You look at maybe other nations previously. If that gap is too big and the players coming through aren't ready to make that step up and fill the gap, it can be a fall off a cliff. And maybe Ireland are in that in the minute. It might not be as bad as we think. You know, we're reacting to the first game.
Totally.
But ultimately, if you look at the way the game played out, that's the narrative at the minute. So Ireland have got some work to do. Again, they spoke about, and I think Brian O'Driscoll spoke about now them maybe looking vulnerable to other nations, saying actually physically we can get stuck into them, and if you win that battle, a game of rugby is so much easier.
Yeah. I suppose the other important thing to mention with Ireland is I do think they haven't regenerated the side particularly well, but we're also talking about the greatest period in the history of Irish rugby, when they went to number one in the world. They were winning Six Nations. They went into a World Cup genuinely with the potential to win it, and that Ireland have never been that team. So that they've raised their own standards, and now when they're dropping off, it means we're looking at it and being quite critical of them. And actually, you know, they've been brilliant, and teams go through cycles. Yes,
it's that, you know, it's almost credit to them where they've been so good for so long. It's what's happened to Ireland. You know, they haven't fallen that far off, but like you say, the top teams continue to push on. I mean, New Zealand have had a little bit of that as well. You know, Australia, of course, you know, teams that used to be at the top table dominant are now trying to figure out how they get back there. So it's not solely on Ireland, but they're the one we're focusing on at the minute because of what happened on Thursday.
I'm pretty sure I probably asked you this question last week, but who should Andy Farrell pick for fly half this weekend?
Well, I think I went Crowley last week, but I think he has to stick with Prendergast now.
Interesting.
I think he needs to...
Hasn't made you change your mind?
No, I just think you kind of need to pump the tyres a bit and say you've got a young man who's... You need a young 10 to have a platform to play with, you know, and if you don't give him that, if it's always on the back foot, he's going to be struggling. He's going to be looking for answers and solutions when there aren't any, because you've got a blue wall hunting you down and trying to take your head off. So actually, if Ireland can give him a platform, he will show all the talent and skills that have made him the international he is so far. He's got development to do. He knows that as well, but you have to give him a chance. I think the fact that he was picked for the first game, he didn't play that badly to warrant him being dropped, I don't think. But if it doesn't go well this weekend against Italy at home, then that conversation becomes more of a big one.
Yeah, let's get on to those other fixtures. So coming up this weekend, 2:10 on Saturday, Ireland against Italy. Topsy, for me, this game, like the whole context of it is totally changed. Like the feeling around it is totally different because of the results of the weekend. Italy getting that win against Scotland, Ireland not looking great and losing to France. Ireland are at home. How do you see it going?
It's really tough. Like you say, the whole narrative around it has massively changed. I do think Ireland will win. I think they'll get over the line, but I think it's going to be a nervy 80 minutes. I think the crowd are really going to wear it, the players as well, because Italy will take huge confidence going to Dublin, thinking, right, we've got that first win. We know this is going to be a tough game, but actually we're in a great place. And Ireland are trying to figure themselves out. So if we can get 3 points here, 6 points there, just start to make the atmosphere around the game feel uneasy, we give ourselves a chance. And if it's at that stage after 50 minutes, 60 minutes, who knows? But I think Ireland just get there.
Yeah, I think Ireland should have enough. I look at Ireland at the moment and I think they've become a really hard team to predict how their results are going to go in the Six Nations, which is mad, really, when you think they were Mr. Reliable for
Grand
years.
Slam winners.
Grand Slam winners. Basically, it was them and France of who
Yeah.
wins that game is going to win the title. Whereas now I look at them and I think, well, you certainly put England as favourites when they face them at Twickenham. You look at this weekend, Ireland are the favourites, but you look at Italy all of a sudden and think, well, who knows, maybe. And so that they're much more in the middle pack. And I suppose actually that's one of the things that it strikes me. We've gone, I think, from a France and Ireland Six Nations domination. I know it's only one round, I know it was only Wales, but I think there's now looks like there's a gap between France and England, and they're the top two teams. So yeah, I probably agree. I think Ireland will have enough to get it done. Hopefully it's a great contest. Talk to me about the Calcutta Cup, Topsy. We were talking about it last week. We were excited. It's here. Scotland have lost to Italy. It's doom and gloom. There's pressure on Townsend. England have dispatched Wales. But it's the Calcutta Cup in Edinburgh. How tricky a fixture, despite all of that context that I mentioned, is this match for England?
Really tricky. Like, it's going to be tough, and England know that, England fans know that, but they should travel there full of confidence. I mean, if they're going to go on and win this tournament, these are the fixtures that they need to go and win. You know, they've got some difficult away trips coming up, finish the tournament away to France, and they go to Rome as well. So you focus on this game. You don't look at anything that's been before or what's coming up the week after, because this game kind of stokes emotions that no other game does. It's going to be hostile. Scotland have got some questions of their own to answer, but I think we said it about Wales, you know, it's probably the perfect fixture for them in terms of rebound, beat England, get everybody back on their side. How it's going to go, I mean, it's going to be fireworks for sure. I see England getting the win. I see them getting the win, and actually I see them making it convincing in the last quarter.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going for an England win as well, because I think this is an England side. I totally agree. I think your point earlier is a really important one. England haven't had too many statement away wins, which is why this is so intriguing, because they haven't won against Scotland away since 2020. They've had the better of them, but I just feel like England have shown us on this 12-match winning streak that they have learned from that side that couldn't quite beat the best teams in the world, couldn't quite get over the line away from home. I think they've shown us on a number of occasions, really, that they have learnt from that. So I expect them to be able to go out there and do it, but you just never know, do you, at Murrayfield?
You don't, and actually the selections are going to be really interesting, because I think Steve Borthwick alluded to maybe a couple of changes in terms of the kicking that's going to happen. So again, the kicking battle is such a mess at the minute. I mean, the ball goes up, it's a 50-50 contest.
I bet you're glad you're not a winger in the aerial game these days.
No, I was protected, I was good, but now the guys have just got to go up in there and see what happens. It's collisions in the air, the ball can fly anywhere, and actually I think that's going to be huge. You know, again, I don't know what the conditions are going to be like, but expect it to be windy and breezy, and the winner of that battle goes a long way towards winning the game, because it's possession, it's territory, it's momentum, and then it's opportunities. So I can't wait. I think it's going to be a brilliant game. But yeah, I see England getting over the line.
Final question on that game. To how much for Scotland and England will their championships be defined by how they get on Saturday evening?
That's a good one. For England, not so much. I think you can still lose a game and win the championship. I think there's more for Scotland currently, because they've got so many questions to answer. England are in a really good spot, 12 wins in a row. This is a big test for them. And if they were to lose, we'd obviously look at the manner of the loss, but I think there's not as much damage as if Scotland lose.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think you're right. You could package it up either way, because you could say, well, if Scotland lose, everyone's still saying they're rubbish. There's still pressure on them. It's like the same as there was before. If England lose, it's that deflating sense of, oh, this team we thought might be able to win a Grand Slam, and this team that have learned from all their past mistakes. They haven't. So it depends how you're looking at it. Final game Sunday, Wales-France, 3:10 in Cardiff. How many points are France going to score against Wales? 60, 70? Seriously?
This is it. When you lead with that question, it tells you
It's
everything.
a horrible question. It's such a horrible question.
Everything you need to know about where both teams are. It's tough, but I think it will be 50. I just think it will. I think, again, the format of the Six Nations, it's tough. You go back to back. I mean, Wales, England in the opening 2 weekends is a tough start. And when you're a team in need of some luck, that's trying to find form, that's trying to win a game for the first time in a long time, in the Six Nations as well, in particular, that losing streak gets longer and longer. Yeah, it's difficult. France aren't the team you want coming to town, and I think it's going to be another long afternoon for Wales.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Quick score predictions for every game. Ireland, Italy.
Ireland, Italy. Ireland 29, Italy 23.
I'm going to go Ireland 28, Italy 15. Scotland, England.
Scotland 15, England 27.
Okay, I'll go Scotland 8, England 22.
8?
Yeah, don't investigate that in too much detail, Topsy, but let's go with that. And then Wales against France. I'll go first here because I asked the horrible question before. I'm going Wales 17, France 62.
I'm going to say Wales 7, France probably 52 as well.
Okay, interesting. Guys, could be tough. Could be tough. What's your movements this week, Topsy, when you heading up to Edinburgh?
Friday head up to Edinburgh, go and kind of take in a bit of the pre-game atmosphere the day before. Saturdays, go. Start getting ready. I'm excited. First time up there for a Six Nations game, so can't wait to get stuck into it. All everybody said is atmosphere will be incredible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm going to be up there on Thursday, so I'll see you up there, but I echo those. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, but it's great. Can't wait.
So that's it for today. The Six Nations is well and truly up and running every single Wednesday throughout the championship. We will be bringing you the latest, so make sure you join us for that. There'll be another talkSPORT Daily coming your way tomorrow. We'll be back next week to review all the action from round 2. Until then, see you next time.